So, middle grade March has come to a close, and I want to tell you about the books that I read for each of the five prompts. Hi, my name is Jonathan, and this is Mr. Pearson Talks Books. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. So, each year in March, there is a readathon called Middle Grade March, where lots of booktubers read and recommend middle grade books, which I think are sadly overlooked the majority of the year. There's so many great middle grade books. That's why the majority of the books that I read and discuss on this channel are middle grade books. Now, this year for Middle Grade March, there were five prompts to help guide our reading. The prompts were books with siblings as characters, books with books on the cover, historical fiction, books by diverse authors, and books with a name in the title. Now, at the beginning of the month, I made a video that I talked about all the books that I was hoping to read for each prompt. But because I'm such a mood reader, this was going to be a big challenge for me. However, I'm happy to say I persevered and I managed to read all of the books I put on my list, except for one. And I replaced that one with another book instead. So I did read enough books to cover all five of the prompts. So the first prompt, the book with a name in the title. And for that prompt, I read a book called Mystery James Digs Her Own Grave by Ali Russell. And this is a story of a girl named Mystery who lives with her aunt and works at the family's funeral home. And as a baby, she was found abandoned in the cemetery, and her tia, or aunt, adopted her, giving her the name Mystery because everything about her is a mystery. Oh, and she can smell ghosts. I don't know exactly what smelling ghosts is like, but Mystery can do it. So as the story goes, one day the matriarch of the town's wealthiest family passes away, and Mystery and her aunt are tasked with her burial. They need to get her ready for her burial. And the woman's son is adamant that a family heirloom must be buried with her. And everything's going well until the heirloom, which is supposed to be buried with her in the family vault, turns up at a pawn shop. And now the funeral home is in danger of being closed because of the horrible publicity. Nobody wants to go visit a funeral home that steals from dead people. But not only that, now Mystery is being haunted by a half vampire demon who is looking for a new body to inhabit. And somehow all of these things tie together, and it's up to Mystery to stop the demon and save the day. I got to tell you, I really enjoyed this book. It had the right amount of mystery and spookiness. At times, though, it was a bit more gruesome than I was expecting. The characters are fun, and the setting, the funeral home, the town that they're in, is very interesting. Mystery has a friend who comes from a family of high achievers, so he is constantly torn between helping Mystery with what's going on and running the risk of disappointing his parents. She also makes friends with the niece of the town patriarch, the man who's upset that the jewel went missing. Mystery James Digs Her Own Grave. It was nominated for both the Edgar Award, which are given to mysteries, and the Stoker Award, which are given to horror novels. And those nominations are well deserved. Definitely check out this book if you enjoy scary middle grade fiction. Gonna love it. For the next prompt, for books about siblings, I chose to read City Spies, Europa by James Ponti. This is the newest installment in the City Spy series. I think there's like 6 previous to this one, which are about a group of kids from all across the globe who go on spy missions for British intelligence, known as MI6. In one of the previous installments, Mother, who is the adult leader of the group, he's a guy, but they call him Mother, adopted all of the children, so making all of the spies siblings. So in Europa, which is the newest installment, the city spies have to stop a plot that's being orchestrated by the mastermind leader of the criminal organization Umbra. And all of the clues lead them to believe that there are going to be a series of coordinated attacks all across Europe. So the kids have to split up and they have to use their own unique talents to be able to stop Umbra. Now, I absolutely love the City Spy series. And if I'm being honest, I love anything that James Ponti puts out. But I kind of feel like this book here might have been the weakest installment of the series. Now, of course, that isn't saying much because all of the books are really, really good. This one had some discussion about, for some of the kids, particularly Paris and Sydney, of them growing up and moving on from the group and what they're going to do when it comes time for them to go to university. What I really enjoyed was the introduction of a new spy to the family and the appendix, we'll put that in quotation marks, at the end where True, who is the head of the division that runs the City Spies, gives her observations about each of the City Spies. And this was a really nice touch. Definitely read this one, City Spies Europa, but only if you've already read the previous ones beforehand. They all kind of build on each other. Now, for the prompt books on the cover, I chose to go with the book Nightbooks by J.A. White. Nightbooks is the story of a boy named Alex who loves everything scary. Scary movies, scary music, scary toys, scary books, etc. He even wants to be a writer of scary stories. However, one night, he decides that liking these things makes him weird, and so he decides to burn his journal with all of his stories in the building's furnace. Now, unfortunately, on his way, he is lured into a magic apartment by the sounds of his favorite horror movie, and he gets trapped by a witch. Now, Alex has to tell the witch a story each night, or something terrible is going to happen to him. Can Alex and his new friend Jasmine find a way to escape from the witch before the stories run out? Now, I've said this already, but I really like this book. It was somewhat scarier than a typical Goosebumps, but not too scary. And interspersed throughout the novel are the stories that Alex tells, which reminded me a lot of the scary stories to tell in the dark. There is a sequel called Grave Books that I'm hoping to read at some point. I highly recommend this book if you are a spooky story lover. It was great. For the historical fiction prompt, I read Peril at Owl Park by Martha Jocelyn, the second book in the Aggie Morton Mystery Queen series. Aggie Morton is a reimagining of sorts of the life of Agatha Christie when she was a little girl, including her friend from Belgium. That may sound familiar if you're an Agatha Christie fan, whose name is Hector. Now, in Peril at Owl Park, Aggie and Hector are visiting Aggie's sister at her new home for Christmas. They've invited a friend, her sister did, who has a supposedly cursed gem, and they also invited a traveling acting troupe. Everything is going well until Christmas morning when, while searching for their Christmas stockings, the children find a dead body instead. Oh, and the cursed jewel and its owner, they're also missing. So now it's up to Aggie, Hector, and her cousin Lucy to solve the crime before an innocent person is arrested. This was a fun book, and the series has been great as well. This was the second one. I really like the inside jokes for Agatha Christie fans. Like when Aggie mentions that she might write a story about a villain on a train who's stabbed by all the other passengers so that no one knows who is responsible for his death. And Hector hears that and he replies and tells her that that's a terrible idea for a story. For those of you that know, you know. And then for the last prompt, books by diverse authors, I read the book Amari and the Metalwork Menace by B.B. Alston. This was the fourth book in the Amari series. Amari and the Night Brothers, that's what I'm trying to say. Amari and the Night Brothers is one of my favorite books that I've read recently. And in this book, Amari, in Amari and the Metalwork Menace, she's still reeling from the events of the war with the magicians. And so much so that she's considering quitting the Supernatural Bureau and giving up all of her memories. That is until a tragedy strikes one of her dearest friends. There's a new virus that's attacking individuals and turning parts of their bodies into metal. Amari has been accepted into an elite program of investigators, and now it's up to her and her partners to solve the Menace threat and find a cure for those who are affected. This means teaming up with an old enemy who may or may not be what they think. Now, like I said about the book City Spies Europa, this book was actually the weakest of the series so far, at least in my opinion, but it still has a lot to offer. I really enjoyed being in Amari's world again. There were some storylines like Amari's swimming career that seemed to have been forgotten, but this book has a lot of fun scenes and a lot of excitement. There's new characters that are introduced that are great. And the end battle, it did seem a little bit rehashed. Now, I don't want to give any major spoilers, but if you've seen the movie Avengers Age of Ultron, the final battle in Amari and the Metalwork Menace will seem a little familiar to you. All that being said, though, this book was enjoyable and worth reading. Again, as long as you've read the previous books in this series. So those are the 5 books that I read during middle grade March, at least that were related to middle grade books. I'm going to have another video coming out shortly that'll discuss all of the other books that I read in March. So be on the lookout for that soon. Now, before we go, have you read any of these books, and what were your thoughts? What did you, or another question might be, what did you read during middle grade March? I'm always looking for new books to check out, so leave those down in the comments, and that'd be great. And if you haven't already done so, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers before school ends in June. I told my students that we would have a party of some sort if we reach 500. So I'm currently just over 250. So if you could help us out, that would be great. And if you're interested in what the 5 hardest books that I've ever read are, click on the video that's going to pop up on the screen here shortly. And as always, my name is Jonathan. This is Mr. Pearson Talks Books. We'll see you next time.